Patterns of happiness are frameworks that always work. They are tools and practices that will bring permanent change to your life for better. We're not looking for temporary solutions. We change and transform. We practice what we preach, and we're gonna share it with you here. Be careful, because you can become seriously happier today. Robert, it's an honor to meet you in person. Thank you for finding time to talk to me. It's an honor because for me, you're one of the, let's call the forefathers of the contemporary lucid dreaming. That's how I feel you, and that's how lucid dreaming was also introduced into my life by your books. So thank you. I'm not an extremely successful lucid dreamer yet. I'm learning, I'm trying, but I'm not also pushing myself. It comes much more naturally with my wife. She had, I would say, extreme experiences, even though she didn't have such an intention at first when I just started sharing with her what I read. But then it turned out that she's more natural in this, but I'm okay. The first question, it's really simple, but I'm just trying to convert as many listeners of mine as I can into lucid dreaming. And I want to ask some basic questions. At first, in your opinion, in your view, how does lucid dreaming differ from the dreams, like regular dreams all the people or most of the people have, and how does it all differ from our day-to-day reality?
Lucid dreaming differs from regular dreaming in that in a regular dream, we just accept whatever happens. So we might be driving a car, then we're driving a motorbike, then we're on a bicycle, then we're walking down a path, and we just accept whatever happens in the regular dream. But as soon as you become lucidly aware, then you realize, oh, I know this is a dream. And at that moment, you can decide what you want to do. You can influence things. You can question dream figures. You can do all sorts of things. So that's the basic difference, is that moment of realization kind of elevates you to a new state of awareness, and you know that what you're interacting with is a dream. To your question, how does it differ from the waking state? You know, I think lucid dreaming gives us insight into the waking state, because when you become aware in the lucid dream, like I did, you have to realize that I taught myself how to lucid dream in 1975. So I've been lucid dreaming for more than 40 years, and the scientific evidence didn't come out until 1981. So I had to teach myself, because there really wasn't anyone to teach me, and I had to teach myself by just learning and doing and experimenting. But what you realize is that in the lucid dream, it's the mind that helps create the experience. And as you go deeper into lucid dreaming, you begin to realize that in the waking state, also the mind helps to create our experience. And so after a while, you can get to a point that I'd call lucid living, where you realize that the nature of your personal experience is directly connected to the nature of your mind. And if you want to change things, then changing your mind is really the place to start. You can change stuff out there if you want to, but the real issue is the state of the mind.
So you were one of the first ones, and you basically had to rely only on yourself.
When you have to figure it out on your own, then you know that the information you're getting is accurate, and it's tested, and it's something that you've proven for yourself. Sometimes when I get on the internet and see what people are saying, I realize that they haven't thought about it very much, or they're just writing up a story to try to get people to come to their website. They really don't understand. But when you don't have anyone to rely on and you have to do it yourself, then you learn all the lessons very deeply, and you see why those lessons are important later on as you go deeper into lucid dreaming.
Can I ask you, how did your lucid dreams develop with time? I mean, you're there for 40 years already.
In that first 10-year period, I was learning what I call the principles of lucid dreaming. So everyone learns like beginner lessons, like you can't get too excited or you'll pop out of the lucid dream. And you can't stare at something for a long, long time fixedly, because then the dream will get shaky and the dream will collapse. And so you learn those simple rules, But then later on, you realize that your beliefs and expectations matter. So if you expect to fly through the wall easily, you can fly through the wall because it's just dream stuff. But if you expect to have problems, you'll get stuck halfway through. Then it's just a crazy situation because you realize that little bit of doubt, that little bit of disbelief kept you from going through the wall. So you begin to realize that you're relating to a mental environment that has mental rules. And it was in 1984 that in one lucid dream, I taught my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, I taught her all the rules of lucid dreaming in a lucid dream. And so I kept showing this and this and this and see how all of this works. And I explained everything that I had learned in the last 10 years. And it was really interesting. At the end of this lucid dream, there were these Asian people all dressed up in robes watching me from afar. And at the time, I just thought it was strange to have a bunch of Asian Chinese people watching me. But anyway, I just let it. But anyway, so then what happened in 1985, 10 years after I started lucid dreaming, that's when I realized that there was an awareness behind the dream. I was part of a Lucid Dream Explorers group. Every month we had a goal to achieve. And one month, the goal was find out what the dream figures represent in your lucid dream. And so I became lucidly aware. I followed a woman into an office. There's 4 people there. I walk up to the man and I ask him, "Excuse me, what do you represent?" And so then in my lucid dreams, I began to ignore the dream figures and I would just shout out questions to the awareness behind the dream, like, "Hey dream, show me something important for me to see." Or, "Hey dream, let me experience this concept." And when I began to see the incredible creativity of this awareness behind the dream, that's when I think my lucid dreaming really took a big step forward.
Can I ask you, do you think that this thing behind the lucid dreaming, this matter that is shaping these dreams, is it our own consciousness, or do you think it's something some people call God or universe? How do you feel? I'm just curious.
The one thing you realize is it has a much more vast creativity, a much more vast knowledge, but it also operates at a different level. And so I think the famous mathematician, geometry specialist Pythagoras said that the soul was the self squared. So, 4 squared is 16. The self is 4, then the soul was 16. It's a magnitude beyond. So it's really hard to say exactly what it is. I mean, a person could say, well, it's your unconscious. In ancient Greek, ancient times, people might have also called this the soul, but it's open to debate.
For those who still doubt, or maybe for those who doubt even more, a very simple question. I know that they can search for it on the internet, but still, for the sake of our conversation to be whole, are there scientific references, confirmation for lucid dreaming? Can it be somehow proved by science, or has it been already proved?
The evidence came in the late 1970s. Keith Hearn in England met a lucid dreamer. Well, how could you prove that someone's aware in the dream state? And so then he realized that in the dream state, we normally have rapid eye movement. Our eyes are flittering around, and so there's a good chance the person is dreaming. So he thought, could he bring this lucid dreamer into the sleep lab and put the REM polygraph pads on his eyes that show the rapid eye movement, and he would tell the lucid dreamer beforehand, before he goes to sleep, that when he becomes lucidly aware, he should try to move his eyes left to right 8 times. And if he did so, that would be so unusual that would show that he was consciously aware in the dream state. And so it was in April of 1975 when Alan Worsley did this at the University of Hull in their sleep laboratory. And that was about the same time that I started to lucid dream myself, was around the spring of 1975. Because I remember I was back in high school and I kind of created a technique to become lucidly aware. But the scientific evidence goes on from there. There's neurological studies, EEG studies of lucid dreamers and all that kind of thing when they're lucidly aware. And some famous scientists like Alan Hobson at Harvard and Ursula Voss in Germany, they've called lucid dreaming a hybrid state of consciousness because the dreaming part of the brain is active. And so that's why they call it a hybrid state, because it's rare to have the two systems operating together at the same time.
You shared that you met your wife in 1984, if I'm not mistaken, or you were dating already with her.
Yeah.
Does she share your deep interest, what you do with lucid dreaming, how you bring it to another level in society?
She certainly has an appreciation for it, and I quickly realized that she doesn't care to talk about dreams in the morning, but would tell me a dream about once a month, and normally it's when it's a dream that solves a problem that she's having at work, whether it's an interpersonal problem or whether it's a solution to an issue. So she remembers those dreams. And she has had her own lucid dreams, but I'm the person who's kind of totally connected to lucid dreaming.
In one of the books, you say that lucid dreaming matter, that's how I understand it, that's how I consider it, is like a sea. We cannot really change it, we can just somehow influence it.
In the book, I mentioned that in a lucid dream, we can influence things and we can manipulate things, but it's really difficult to say that we control things, because a lot of times people talk about lucid dreaming meaning that we control. And then people think they control everything, which is false. But for example, you can talk to a dream figure and say, hey, do you know I'm dreaming you? And then the dream figure says, how do you know I'm not dreaming you? And then you as a lucid dreamer will say, well, look, I can fly. And then the dream figures will say, well, look, I can fly too, and fly around. And so you have these interesting situations where you realize that lucid dreaming doesn't really mean control. What it means is that you're more aware and can relate to things at a higher level of awareness. And so, of course, you can influence things and decide what you want to do, but control, lucid dreaming doesn't mean total, complete control, because you're interacting with the unconscious mind and your larger awareness, and you'll learn things that are beyond the ego's knowing, that you'll discover things that are outside of what you consider yourself.
You have seen, I guess, thousands of lucid dreamers. I mean, you somehow communicated with thousands of lucid dreamers. In your experience, how many lucid dreams per night people usually have? Or not per night, but per month or per year maybe?
So in scientific terms, to be considered a frequent lucid dreamer, all you have to do is have one lucid dream a month. And so that shows you, that if you have 12 or 15 lucid dreams a year, then scientifically you're actually a frequent lucid dreamer. But when I got started in it, I taught myself a simple technique, and I'd have about 1 to 3 lucid dreams a month. And then I learned some different techniques and began to have more lucid dreams. And then when I was able in my last year of college to really focus on lucid dreaming, I got up to having 30 lucid dreams a month. Some nights I'd have 2 or 3 lucid dreams. But back in college, I could devote a lot of time to it, and I was a psychology major, so that was good. But to get up to 30 lucid dreams a month really takes a lot of focus and a lot of energy on the part of the person. But here's what I tell people, Dimitri. I tell people it's not the quantity of lucid dreams that matters, it's the quality. A year ago, I got an email from a young guy who sent me an incredible lucid dream. And I asked him, how long have you been lucid dreaming? And he goes, oh, just a year now. And I go, how many lucid dreams have you had? And he goes, 26. And I said, how did you learn to become such a great lucid dreamer in 26 lucid dreams? And he said, I read your books and I followed all of the ideas exactly. And just by using those principles and thinking about them deeply, he was able to move forward at an incredibly rapid pace. And by lucid dream number 26, was doing extraordinary things. So again, a lot of people, get all caught up in how many lucid dreams you have a month. That's fine, but really the quality of the lucid dream is what matters. Because if you're a great lucid dreamer, in my life, I have people who have lucid dreams every night. So there's some people who have lucid dreams every night, but they come and ask me how to do things. because lucid dreaming just happens to them naturally. So they never had to learn the principles. It just happened naturally when they were small children, normally as they had to learn to deal with nightmares. But if they want to learn how to physically heal their body or resolve some issue, oftentimes they'll write me an email and say, tell me how to go about this, because even though I've had 10,000 lucid dreams, I really don't understand how I'm supposed to heal myself in a lucid dream. So again, quantity is fine, but quality is the thing that'll truly blow your mind.
I haven't read that many books on lucid dreaming, but what I really liked in your book is that you actually explained that there are different stages and levels of how lucid you can actually be, which makes it clear that yes, maybe today I'm not fully lucid, but I'm somewhere over there. So actually I can give myself some credit for doing the job.
It's really a process, because it's like if somebody took you as a small child and threw you into a lake. You don't know how to swim. I mean, you'll do what you need to do to keep your head above water. And so even like swimming, to learn to be a good swimmer is a progression of steps. And really, to learn to be a good lucid dreamer, there's techniques, but also there's realizations that you have to get. You have to have realizations that move you forward. If you go deep in the lucid dreaming path, you really have to realize that the only way to grow is to face your fears and resolve them, because these fears within your mind keep you from exploring, keep you from going deeper, keep you from a lot of things. And so that's what I learned early on, that if I was going to grow as a lucid dreamer, I had to resolve these fears and meet them straight away. There's a lot to learn, and there's more than just techniques, because dealing with your fears for each person is going to be personal, and there's not really a technique that's going to apply to everyone.
You just mentioned that one of the major category of people who has lucid dreams are those people who had nightmares and they were kind of fighting against them. How does it work and why?
Besides writing a book, I also have a free online magazine called the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine that anyone can get for free at dreaminglucid.com. But I wrote an article one time about people who have lucid dreams every night, because I began to meet people here and there who would have said they had lucid dreams every night. And in almost every case, they had childhood nightmares. As a child, you don't want to have a nightmare, but you begin to realize, wait a second, if the witches are here, then this means I'm in the dream state. And if this is a dream, then I can fly away and get away from the witches. And so as a child, they'd learn very quickly how to distinguish or differentiate waking reality from the dream reality. Oh, in dream reality, witches. In waking reality, I don't meet witches. So they learned early on to notice those subtle differences between waking and dreaming, and they'd become lucidly aware each night. But normally, again, it's dealing with nightmares. But then one time I got an email from a woman who told me that she lucid dreams every night, but it's because of a neurotic habit. And I said, okay, it wasn't nightmares, it was a neurotic habit. And I wrote her back and I said, okay, what's your neurotic habit that makes you lucid dream? And she says, well, during the day, I'm constantly asking myself, what was I just doing? And she'll remember, oh yeah, I was making a cup of tea. And so she says what happens is she'll find herself in the dream state and she'll ask herself, what was I just doing? And she'll think in her mind, and she remembers putting on her pajamas or night clothes to go to bed. And then she realized, oh, this is a dream. If the last thing I was doing was putting on my pajamas or getting into bed, this must be a dream. And she says, just because of this neurotic habit, she becomes lucidly aware almost every night, because she constantly asks herself, what was I just doing? So this is what I call developing a lucid mindset, where you examine your environment or you question your environment to such a deep level that it naturally makes you become lucidly aware. Most people who lucid dream all the time do it because they had nightmares as a child, but some people do it because they've developed mindfulness techniques or just have strange habits like this woman.
Yeah, I think angels helped her. It's a great habit. It's a great habit, actually. I understand that it's neurotic, but the reality check you're talking about, it could be like, is this real? Am I dreaming? But in her case, it's a little different, but it works for her.
In my case, when I got up to 30 lucid dreams a month, I've been reading these books by a woman, an author here in America, Jane Roberts. It's called The Seth Material. And in these books, basically the idea was that our beliefs and our larger awareness help to create what we experience. And so there I was in college, I was reading these books. And so every time when I saw something strange, I would ask myself, what beliefs do I have that brought this experience into my life? Why am I seeing this taxi cab driver fight with this woman in the street? Or why did I see that little boy start singing a song as he rides his bike? Every time I saw something strange, I'd ask myself, what beliefs do I have that brought this into my experience? And so this is what happened. In the dream state, I would see something odd, and I'd ask myself, what beliefs do I have that allow me to see a cow fly through the air? And then I go, oh, wait a second, that's too weird. Cows don't fly through the air. Oh, this must be a dream. But every time I saw something strange in waking, I'd ask myself, what beliefs do I have that would allow me to see this, that would bring this into my experience? And that's how I got up to having 30 lucid dreams a month.
Another thing I really loved in your book is the part dedicated to creativity. I haven't seen it in other books. I just want to ask you to share what you know about this, or a little bit about this, how people can actually become more creative maybe, or is it just another way to enter their creativity? Is it a source? How does it work?
Yes. So in a lucid dream, if you begin to pay attention in the lucid dream, you're just amazed at the creativity of your mind, because you know that you're inside a mental creation. But when you begin to look at the details, you just realize the details are so phenomenal, that they're so empowered. And so to move beyond that, that's how I use this awareness behind the dream. So for example, if you become lucid and you shout out, hey, dream, show me something important for me to see, oftentimes the entire lucid dream will change, or something new will appear, and you'll just be amazed at what you discover. Or if you ask in the lucid dream to explain a concept or let me experience a concept, then suddenly sometimes the entire lucid dream changes. Like for example, one time I asked in a lucid dream, let me experience the energy of the universe. And then if you can imagine, the lucid dream just cracked open and this brilliant white light is shooting through this crack like a fire hydrant, like water out of a fire hydrant. And it's just hitting me all over. It was coming into the palms of my hands and my forehead, the front of my chest, just this energy of this universe, just this incredible, incredible light just coming into me. And after about a minute, I just couldn't take it anymore. It's not that it was painful, it was just that it was so energetic and it was accumulating in me. And finally, I asked the dream to stop. I said, I can't take it anymore, stop. And then it stopped. But when you have these experiences of that creativity, you realize how vast that creativity is that you're interacting with when you ask the larger awareness for something. I do these online conferences, and online conference goes on for 30 days. In one of them, a university student from Australia came, and I asked her, what are you doing here? Because you're a university student, and normally I don't have very many university students at my online conferences. And she says, I want you to teach me how to become an electron. I'm a physics student in Australia, and in a lucid dream, I want to become an electron and learn to experience the reality that an electron experiences. And so I told her I'd help her, and it took her 5 lucid dreams, because you have to let go of what your expectations and beliefs are. Because your expectations and beliefs aren't based on true knowledge and true experience. They're just your beliefs and ideas and thoughts. But by the fifth time, by her fifth lucid dream, she had let go of all of that. And first she said she asked to have her awareness move to the subatomic level. And then at that stage, she asked, now let me experience an electron. And at the end of it, I remember she wrote that the thing that surprised her the most was the joy that an electron feels as it bounces from electron to neutron as it bounces all around the universe. But it really made me happy to think that beneath all of this physical reality, at the level of electrons, there's just a kind of sense of joy at all the movement and energy there. But it's truly incredible, the deep creativity that you can experience in lucid dreams. And that's why interacting with this awareness behind the dream, or just asking to experience concepts, is really a way that you can free your mind from what the ego knows and get in touch with what the inner self or your true self is aware of.
That's a beautiful story. I'm curious where this whole journey took this physicist student. The time goes by. Do you see how attitude towards lucid dreaming is changing in society? Do you see that there is more interest and more experiments from universities, from government, from authorities? Do you see that it becomes more and more like a meditation? Meditation became something really common. People are not afraid of it. Most everyone, I think, just at least heard of it and thinks, okay, if you do that, well, that's fine.
Yeah. After my books came out, I would hear from graduate students who told me that my book blew their mind so much, and they were able in their own lucid dreams to confirm what I had said about interacting with the larger awareness and all the other things you could do. And a lot of them told me that they've gone on to get graduate degrees and PhDs in psychology because they want to explore this area of lucid dreaming more deeply. And so the beautiful thing about lucid dreaming is that you can try out these ideas and see how they work for you. And you also have to realize that lucid dreaming is actually part of an ancient spiritual tradition. 2,000 years ago, Buddhists began to talk about dream yoga, where they basically use lucid dreaming to become consciously aware in the dream state. And then they began to explore the actual nature of reality by using their lucid dreaming. And Sufism has been happening for about 1,000 years. In Native American traditions, they have secret societies of lucid dreaming techniques. And so you realize that here's this ancient spiritual practice that's become scientifically validated, and now scientists are exploring it. And so it hasn't happened yet. I'm looking forward to the day when lucid dream scientists are doing some of the things that I talk about in my book, like doing studies where people who have a physical ailment or disease try to heal themselves in the lucid dream state. Or people in a lucid dream state try to get information outside of time or space and these kind of things. But I think it's really, it might take another 10 or 20 years, but I think people will eventually get there because the vast amount of creativity in the lucid dream state is so profound. You realize that you're going beyond the little ego self to something even bigger. And so that's why I think scientifically lucid dreaming has a great opportunity to show that. But the only problem with it is that dreams don't get very much money in scientific research. People are happy to give $10 million to study a chemical that might reduce some physical disease, but it's hard for a lucid dream study to get $10,000 or $100,000. So it's going to take some time. But the great thing is more and more students have had the lucid dream experience, and they get it. They get why it's so powerful. But somebody who's 60 years old who's never had a lucid dream it's hard for them to give $1 million to a lucid dreaming study because they've never had a lucid dream. But as more and more people change and all, I'm sure that situation will change too.
I hope so. When I had a chance to talk to Charlie Morley, I didn't know whether you know about him, but he shared that he was invited by MI5 and MI6 in the United Kingdom to talk with post-war soldiers, and they're using it to heal post-traumatic syndrome. So I think it somehow, I hope that in the future it becomes more and more within CIA and FBI, and then I guess in US they will spend more dollars in that one too.
They've already spent some money on it. I know some of the people in the Department of Defense here in America who studied the use of lucid dreaming for, I'll just say, intelligence purposes 15 or 20 years ago. But anyway, it is nice. In lucid dreaming, there's also many examples of people using it to overcome phobias, fears. They've used it to overcome anxiety. They've used it to get rid of bad habits. They've used it for a lot of psychological purposes. But the main thing that science agrees is that you can use lucid dreaming to stop recurring nightmares that happen from post-traumatic stress.
I would like to ask you one thing. We're getting closer to the end of our conversation. Can you please share some techniques, maybe just 2 simple techniques that beginners can use, and maybe 2 techniques that some people that are already somewhere over there and had their share of lucid dreams already?
Sure.
Because I can tell you that I really love the way how you explain things. I think you're really natural in making it very clear. For example, I've read Castaneda and I've read Journey to Eastland, but you described this whole thing about looking at the hands more clear. Because when you just think about it, like, just remember it while you're sleeping, okay. So then I just wake up and I haven't done that.
So that's how I taught myself how to lucid dream back in 1975. I'd read this book, Journey to Ixtlan. Carlos Castaneda was told by his shamanic teacher to find his hands in the dream state and realize he's dreaming. But like you mentioned, there's really not a technique. And so I'm a young guy. I'd read about hypnosis and the power of suggestion. So this is what I did, and anyone can use this simple technique. So what you do, before you go to sleep, you just put your hands in front of your face, and you look at the palm of your hands while saying in your mind, tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. And you do that for about 5 minutes because you're making it your most important last thought, your intent before you go to sleep. And then during the night, you might see your hands and realize you're dreaming. And on the 3rd night, I'm walking through my high school and suddenly my hands just pop right in front of my face. And I go, oh, my hands, this is a dream. And I became lucidly aware. So it's kind of like Ivan Pavlov and his dogs. He would ring a bell every time he fed them. And he would ring a bell every time he fed them, and then he could ring a bell and they would salivate, so because they expected food. And so that's what you're doing. Every time you see your hands, the first thought has to be, oh, this is a dream, I'm dreaming. That's how I taught myself in 1975, and it's a wonderful technique for beginners because it gives them something to do. The other technique for beginners is, if you know that you're good with suggestion or hypnosis, then you can use the power of suggestion before you go to sleep. So here would be a good suggestion. Before you go to sleep, just repeat in your mind, tonight in my dreams, I'll be more critically aware. And when I see something strange, I'll realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll be more critically aware. And when I see something strange, I'll realize I'm dreaming. Because what you're telling yourself is to be on the lookout for strange situations. So if you see a cow fly, or if you see the Prince of England walk by, you just don't think, oh, the prince is here in our neighborhood. You go, wait, this is too weird. What's he doing here? This has to be a dream. So those are simple techniques. You can use the sight of your hands, or just telling yourself, tonight in my dreams, I'll be more critically aware. And when I see something strange, I'll realize I'm dreaming. When it comes to a little bit more difficult techniques, some people are very good visualizers. And so there's an ancient technique that even predates the Buddhist, but basically here's the technique. So imagine here at the base of your throat, there's a candle, a lit candle. And imagine that you can see this lit candle, and that candle light is the light of your awareness. And so as you're falling asleep, imagine that there's a candle lit at the base of your throat, and it's the light of awareness. And you're focusing on that candle at the base of your throat. I'll tell you, it's bizarre when in the middle of the night, you see this candle and you go, what? Oh my God, and you realize this is a dream. So the Buddhists do this a little bit differently. They ask you to imagine a red lotus at the base of your throat, with a white A or Ah, Sanskrit, emitting white light. But before then, people just use the idea of a candle, that the light of awareness is at the base of your throat. So for people with good kind of visualization skills, they can use that, but that's a little bit more difficult. But those are some of the techniques that you can use to become lucidly aware. Again, of course, it helps to have a good dream recall. And also you want to remember, as soon as you become aware, you want to stay calm, because if you get too excited, you're going to pop out. And then you can do things like you can enhance your awareness by like rubbing your hands together or touching something to make you feel more secure and situated in that lucid dream. Those are just some of the techniques that people can use.
Thank you, Robert. You gave us a lot of golden nuggets. I really hope that it converts more and more and more people. I hope just one day it will be maybe not a part of school program, but at least children will be somehow supported and motivated to explore their dreams as well. That would be amazing.
It's a fascinating field. It's so incredibly deep, you can't imagine, because I basically just told you about my discoveries in the first 10 years of lucid dreaming, and you can go so much deeper where you have truly profound experiences. But Dimitri, it's very nice meeting you, and lucid wishes to everyone out there. And if you have any questions, you can always send questions to my website, lucidadvice.com, and feel free to check out my free online magazine at dreaminglucid.com.
Do you also give courses? Can you please tell more about your work so that people learn if they want to learn more?
Yeah, I do a course. It's a 30-day online course with Glide Wing. So that's Glide, Glide, Wing, WING.com. And so it has a lot of videos, and then I answer questions and talk by typing with people and do things like that. But I'm always happy to help everybody, because lucid dreaming really is my passion, and I want people to learn. And also I'm going to be working with some other online developers to come out with some new videos to make it easier for people to kind of get into lucid dreaming.
Thank you, Robert. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope we meet one day in person.
Thanks, Dimitri, and best wishes, everyone.
Thank you.
I want to tell you a funny story before you go. About 20 years ago, one time in a lucid dream, a young woman appeared, and she says, I live in a village 2 hours east of the Ural Mountains, and I'm a lucid dreamer. And she goes, can you please contact me? And I said, okay, what's your address? And she said, I live at 146 blah, 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 blah street in the town of because when she gave the street and the name of where she lived, it was all in Russian, and I couldn't understand it. And it was the most hilarious thing to be able to interact with her in English as we talked, but when it got to the address and all, that's when it all fell apart. But it's interesting to have those kind of experiences. And so if that young woman 2 hours east of the Ural Mountains is watching, I hope she tries again and drops me a note.
Yeah, actually, working on actually starting to translate the podcast. And it takes me some time because I'm just trying to find a way to organize it properly. But hopefully by the end of the year it will be done for our conversation. So yeah, maybe if she finds out, please contact us.
That's great. Anyway, Dimitri, good talking to you, and best wishes to you.
Thank you, Robert. All the best to you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.